pulling away from the movie for a little bit to talk about stuff that doesn't relate to the movie, doesn't even relate to the Bell Witch story, we found out that the cave itself has a history going way back.
Right, and from the ghost hunting aspect of it, to me that was the fascinating thing, was the life that had centered around that area for so long,
Sure, yeah.
And also like burials and things that are right around the cave. So
yeah. No, apparently right over the opening of the cave, they've done archaeological studies, and they've determined that there are Native American burials up there. And I believe the date we were given on the tour was about 11,000 years ago. So this was a found location that occupied by humans for thousands upon thousands of years. And then they found evidence within the cave as well that the flint rocks were all chipped off. So Native Americans were going into there to find tools for stoneworking. And of course, something was not inherently there. I've seen this misreported over and over and over again. Although, just take the tour and you find out the real story.
Yeah.
There is a stone coffin inside the cave that is Native American made, but it was never placed originally in the cave. It was something that was discovered down the river a ways. Whoever it was that owned the cave prior to the current owners, so they made that clear, it wasn't them that did this, but some previous owners, they found this, they brought it up, so they must have taken the body out, disassembled the coffin, and then tried their best to reassemble it and put the remains back into the coffin to make it part of their tour, which is abhorrent. Naturally, at some point in time, grave robbers went in and stole the remains. So now there's an empty stone coffin in there. This happened in the modern age. We don't know exactly when that was, but definitely in the later 1900s.
Past, within the last century. For sure.
Yes, for sure. So this well past the time of the Bell Witch, but you could understand if it would add additional paranormal activity to this place.
Yeah.
I was surprised, I know you were as well, how natural the cave still was. That it was a lawsuit waiting to happen in this modern age of having people walk on slippery rocks and climb up different areas, and we got to go pretty far back, probably 100 yards, maybe a little bit more back in from the mouth of the cave.
I was surprised by that too. I thought once we walked in the mouth of the cave, I thought that was it. Yeah. And I thought that was cool.
It was cool, yeah.
I mean, I recommend going if you get a chance. And the woman who gave the tour is very knowledgeable about the history of the area and also the Bell Witch family and their stories and everything. So it was neat how she kind of peppered those facts and things throughout the tour as she was showing different, also the geology. She talked a lot about the different rocks and things in there. So
they had geologists come in. I think it was so great. They've had experts come in and tell them their findings so that they can then echo them on. They weren't, I don't know, what I loved so much about them is they never felt like carnival barkers.
No, not at all.
They never said that this is the most haunted place on earth. And when it came to the paranormal activity there, they have some that they experience themselves, but not a lot. She once saw a small child of a boy, and more prominently, this kind of wavy, glittery, golden shimmer.
Like you see in the desert when you're driving on a hot day, coming off the cement.
Yeah, like that distortion. So I thought, wow, there's a very flamboyant predator that's walking around in there, because the shimmer. That's kind of neat, because it's something that we haven't seen before, and man, that would have been a neat effect.
Yes, very.
To show in the movie. What's interesting that I wish I had known at the time, but have only found out after the fact, that there are other haunted locations tied to the Bell Witch story around town. The old Bell High School is, it's like a mall now, like an antique mall where there's got a bunch of different shops in it. That place is apparently crazy haunted. And they have, there's an antique shop inside of it that has the Bell Witch bad luck chair. That if you sit on it, you might have bad dreams if you touch it. So the owner of it doesn't even allow people to, you can observe it. But it was given to him by some other people that inherited it through the years, passed it down, but told him the warnings, and he said he's never even sat on it. But the place is apparently very actively haunted, and I definitely want to check out the Bell High School next time we're in that area. I can't imagine we'll ever be in that area again, but who knows? Things happen on a road trip.
I think we will.
Yeah.
I think we will.
Something that we never see happen in the movie apparently happened in real life, where this entity actually did fully manifest to a tangible human being. And at one point, somebody even wrapped this creature, the specter, in a blanket or something and tried to throw her into the fireplace, I suppose before she then vanished. We don't really know how that scuffle ended.
Right.
But we don't see that in the movie. It's so funny. Again, all the moments that they took the piss out of it, if you will, where they just went less than. And I wonder, see, to me, a lot of this felt like the writer, director didn't have respect for the source material.
Oh, I see.
Like, they thought elements of it were so fantastical that maybe a modern audience wouldn't even be able to go for the ride. I don't know. But it came off as though they were bashful about telling the honest story as it's been reported so far.
Well, it is a very weird story.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It doesn't just play out like I was saying, it's not just like, okay, this witch had a bone to pick with John Bell, she tortured him and his family, and then he ended up dying, and then she went away.
Yes.
Like, in the real story, it continues, and it's just so bizarre, and she's telling things about how the world is gonna end, and, you know, all that.
Yeah, what's gonna lead to our downfall.
Right, and it's just like, what is this entity? Where is it coming from?
Yeah, which again, Mothman to me. So
much,
prophetic.
Yeah. But in a movie, it might be a bit much to try to, because there is no explanation for it, so it's kind of like, how do we tie this up with a bow?
Well, and then here's how they decided to try to tie it up with a bow. They took away the witchcraft aspect of it. Mm-hmm. And for a little bit, you wonder, is this a poltergeist case? Because there's many, many, many cases. I mean, to keep it in film land, think about the movie Carrie, where this girl is of a certain age, similar age to Betsy, is very traumatized. Objects begin to move on their own, sounds start to happen, and oftentimes it comes from the psychic abilities of this girl, this adolescent girl. She has no idea that she's the cause of it.
Right.
And very often, being a person that is maybe not have a good self-image, they begin to attack her. This, in a lot of ways, kind of seemed like maybe it could be a poltergeist case. But there was something, again, going back to the writer, to me it felt like, because of the complexity of the stories, and we don't know a lot of the whys for a lot of it in real life, that it looked like, hey, we're at the 90-page mark. We got to wrap this up in 5. So let's have this montage where we find out that this guy is sexually assaulting his daughter, and which would lead to a good poltergeist story, because a very traumatized girl, young girl. And then and this is always what caught me as funny when I was looking at the real story. When I heard a ghost killed someone, I'm imagining an axe flying through the air or something like that, thrown by some unseen force. But no, he was poisoned.
Yeah, and it was like, it couldn't have been more
mundane.
Well, I mean, actually, I thought it was kind of fantastical.
Yeah.
A potion, a black potion in a vial was found. You know, it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like some kind of fiction book, but that's what the way the story goes anyway.
Yeah, the story goes that, well, first off, he was a very old guy, and he said he was feeling ill one night, and then by morning he was dead.
Yeah.
But a vial with some black liquid in it was found near his bed, and their method of testing what was inside it was to feed it to their family cat, who then died instantly.
But the witch voice said...
Yes. The witch voice then laughed and said, well, I gave him a good dose of that last night. It's a very down-homey kind of quality to it.
If it actually did happen, I mean, I'm laughing right now, but oh wow, would that be terrifying.
Yes.
But it's just it's so difficult for me to even imagine, you know, this disembodied voice like saying these things and being so, I guess, human. And it's...
Yeah, it's true.
And it's wanting to, you know, get people and get rid of, like... It's like, wow, that is such a human thing. I don't know.
Yes. And then what happened in that moment? Was there a, like, phantom it poured itself onto a spoon
Right.
that was also floating in the air, and
Yeah.
the spoon went in and
Or did she,
fed him.
did she materialize as a human and he's having
Just
fever dreams or
hold him
whatever?
down,
So she's
yeah.
like, here's your medicine or something. Who knows?
There you go. But in the movie, we see, and they, all revolving around this child molestation idea.
Yeah.
Betsy gets her revenge and feeds him his medicine. And meanwhile, his wife is just sitting in the room watching, nodding, because apparently she's known the entire time that he had done this to her. Like, so much plot
Throughout
was just
everything
thrown
else. Yeah.
in right now that, I don't know, it seems so sloppy and rushed.
Yeah.
And again, undercut so much that they were setting up.
I have to admit, even, going into it, I knew that was going to be the premise.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was kind of looking for hints along the way earlier.
Yeah, so we watched the movie after going to the cave, and we were warned by the people that run the cave,
Tour guide.
yes, and her daughter, that they took some liberties, and that's one person's opinion, but that's not based on anything. So they were very, very against it.
They were
on
quite
that.
jaded over it. Yeah, they said, that's the Hollywood interpretation. They had to, sensationalize it and whatever. Knowing that going into it, I was looking for clues because I thought,
Yeah,
okay.
the foreshadowing
Right.
and laying the groundwork, and they did that a tiny bit where some clothes were found that was the clothes that he was trying to hide because it was
Right.
after he raped his daughter, and then he got upset when he saw it. They made one movie for 97% of the way, and then made it entirely different. Made it
Yeah.
a Lifetime drama for the last 3% of it, just to wrap it up quickly.
Yeah.
We see that's how they decide the story of the Bell Witch ends. And then that mirrors modern day, where we have this framing device of modern day little bookends at the very beginning and end of the movie, where there's a new family that live in what was the Bell Witch cabin, although it's like a McMansion from today.
Total modern house.
Yes. And the little girl at the house is having some experience, some bad dreams, much like Betsy had. And once you know it, the father is sexually assaulting his daughter. Just the cycle of fun continues on.
Right.
But the ghost of Betsy is kind of like trying to come back.
Yeah. Also, just the fact that it starts off. I mean, I think it was implying that like she found this doll in the attic or something that had been Betsy's, and the mom was like, "You've been in the attic again." Like the attic is where all the bad things get hidden, and
Of course.
of course, then that makes it where kids want to go play.
Well, naturally. Absolutely.
But just to think of a house nowadays, like containing the things from that long ago, I
Yes.
guess it does happen. I've seen it on the Antiques Roadshow.
Yeah.
But it was a little ridiculous.
If you wanted to bring some modern day stuff in, it would be possible. Because
the cave. The woman who gave the tour, who lives there and it's her property, had mentioned that it's really difficult because they have people constantly coming in, trying to sneak in at night, and kids, and the river goes right by there, so people canoe by and they can, sneak in from around the edge or whatever. But you could have the classic horror story, like, kids all being mischievous and like sneaking in the cave and then actually stirring it up.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's so there for the taking.
But to me that would be fun and exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess because I've been there and seen it, but it's actually real and it actually could happen, so don't trespass in the Bell Witch Cave.
As we get back to our Scream eggs, An American Haunting, I don't think it's worth watching, quite honestly. Not that this is really supposed to be a review, but I think it's worth saying. If you were going to watch that movie, I would credit that time towards making a drive down to Adams, Tennessee.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And exploring Adams and the Bell Witch Cave, saying hi to the family that own it, who are all awesome.
Yeah.
But there's 3 generations of women running the place.
Oh, but do not take a rock.
Oh yeah, how do
If
we
you go in
forget
the
that?
cave.
Yes. So neat, yeah. Like, as if Madame Paley was there saying don't steal the lava rock. Apparently people were beset by all sorts of, like, a crazy amount of different types of tragedy if someone took a souvenir.
Right on the same countertop where the register was, where you buy your tickets, just a series of letters from people telling of all of the misfortunes that became from
Yeah.
taking a rock. And they said they would like mail the rock back along with a letter that said, you know, I'm so sorry. I know you said
wasn't
not to
supposed to
take
take
one, but I did. But boy, do I regret it. And then all of the misfortunes.
Here's all the things that have happened. I love the one that was, my husband got his arm amputated and the lawnmower won't start. You know, something like that. Happy Halloween, everyone. And Easter. Oh, it's so green.
Slimer himself laid these eggs.